All right. Good evening, guys. I'm just taking a moment here to get things ready from my view screen. How's everyone doing? I'm actually here after a couple of days. Like all week, I felt like I definitely needed to kind of like just be more integrative in terms of being present. But I was definitely, showing you guys some love, sharing what was coming up for me in terms of guidance. Now, today I'm actually here because I just want to share a message in terms of where we're at. And if you are new, welcome. My name is Stephanie, Divine Cosmic Empress, and this is Shamanic High Priestess. I tune into the energies and help modern day mystics, medicine women, high priestesses, souls here that have reincarnated and that are, they know they have a soul remembrance, soul's gifts, especially that stem from, different lifetimes, right? And then how do you integrate that into your modern day life? And, just coming here, I tune into the energies and I connect to the cycles of nature as a shamanic priestess, as well as the spirits all around us, the crystals, and not just that, but the elements. And hey, good evening. Let me know where you're coming in from. Like, what time is it where you're at? And how are you feeling? And as I'm just kind of getting things ready, okay, just tuning in and just saying, thanks for being here with me. I actually wanted to kind of like start this how I used to start the lives, where we would put on some tunes, kind of tune into like where we're feeling. And then specifically because we have this full moon in Sagittarius, which is Saturday. And if you're in the East Coast, like I am in the Northern Hemisphere, we're just kind of celebrating going into it. And of course, I would be all fired up in the evening time versus during the day. And we're here just to kind of like wait for everybody else to come in. Definitely been feeling how the weather suddenly finally wanted to be summertime around here, and so hopefully you guys have been able to tune in, get enough water, which has been a major theme the past couple of days, especially as we've been exploring the rise of the Scorpio moon. And so this whole essence and theme, especially that I've been connecting with others to in the community, where like the theme of water, the theme of like the Lemurian energy, Arcturian vibes have been coming in, which is perfect because that's actually in alignment with like, etherical and what I'm teaching right now, especially with connecting to your soul's gifts and how to bring that up right now in your modern day life, right? And weaving the practices, the magic, the medicine that you have as frequency holders and, way changers here in a modern day life where society has really just been conditioned to do things in terms of like either, especially because we're in Gemini season, like codependency, forgetting your individuality, your expression, and just, forgetting the connection to self through stress, overwhelmment, right? And so, that was a good tune in. So a couple of things, especially because of this title, it says right here, like, what if you went all in and you remained in integrity to your vision, to your values? And that is like the big grand like message with this full moon. Like when we talk about full moon, you can kind of think about different ways, but this is like this big emotions releasing, especially around the vision. Sagittarius is that sign where It's the philosopher, right? It is that centaur with the arrow as that vision, and it is so direct as a fire energy. And now, when it comes to the Sagittarius and this full moon, it's like, okay, like, have I been honoring, and how can I, if I have not, like, honor all the aspects of myself and values? Hey, Marky. How are you doing? Welcome. And, if you haven't been honoring yourself, like, okay, like, what do I need to do? What do I need to align with? What do I need to let go of? So that I can be in integrity and alignment with the version of myself that I'm wanting to move forward in. Because a couple of themes that come up recently. One, this whole thing that I just mentioned on, like, your whole individuality, your perspective is so unique and so needed to be shared, to be seen and heard from others, right? And the other aspect too, like in the kind of stars and the way I like to like work with the energy of the cosmos, it's like this guidance and support, like, okay, what are the themes that we can kind of really, be aware of right now, especially with the next couple of weeks. And then, especially like when you kind of get more in tune with it, and it's always a constant study and expansion. Like, I don't claim to know everything, of course not. I'm guided to see, and I learn as I grow, especially as someone who's like a generator. I'm meant to just go and grow with it, right? So maybe a lot of us do that too. It's like, okay, we learn more when we take action, and then it's like, okay, in the action, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what not to do next time, how to refine things, right? And just through practice is what it is that your real experience comes through. And so major things that have been highlighted this week for me was the fact that, like, we have Jupiter in Taurus and also Uranus in Taurus, so they are conjuncting for the next like year, like next April. They are getting really close, so like the highest peak is like towards April. And so what this means is like, okay, this is the year, especially with this like whole Jupiter energy, and especially right now the fire Sagittarius, where we're being fully supported to really go big, take those risks. Like, what can you do to take bigger leaps and go all in? Because if the question just goes back to, like, what if you were to go all in and just freaking believe that there was no sense of doubt, just believe that, like, say you're starting a new job, they're teaching you the things, and this is it. Like, there's no other thing. I'm going to stick to this, and we're going to see how it goes, right? And the fact that you commit, the fact that you stick to your guns is why you end up, being fruititious. And I actually pulled a couple cards a couple days ago, so I wanted to pull it through because they've been like really seeping into my consciousness and just coming together to tell the story. So it's, what is the current theme that's coming up with about this is like, oh, you planted seeds, we've been doing the work, and can you really just fully believe that, you are going to be successful? You are successful. The thing that you want, the things that you desire are right there for you, right? And like, how can you just continue to like go all in at a deeper level, right? So that's the major thing. This is what is really being highlighted for us. And when I saw that, it's perfect because you can also see the full moon right here. These cards in particular highlight the stages of the moon. So they really just give us, okay, like, what is the current energy? So this is I feel like really good loving vibes right now, especially with the full moon in Sagittarius, Jupiter, Uranus conjuncting. And it's just like okay, so we know that at the end result, at the end of the road, we are going to be receiving, it's only for your highest good. It's going to be fruititious, right? Now, oftentimes though, the thing is, with Uranus or spontaneity, this energy of like the sudden things that can just happen and occur, changes that disrupt, doesn't mean at first, just because you didn't see it, just because you can't see the bigger picture, that it's not for your good, right? Not at all. What it actually means is like, you know what? No, the stars are aligning. They're pulling you in a direction that's going to be for your greatest good, even if you can't see it yet, right? And even if you can't see it, no, yeah, just trust. So when it comes to a lot of us who are on the soul's journey path, and when I have been here creating etherical for you, for us, right? It's like, what is the major thing regarding the modern day mystics, the medicine women, the oracles here, the healers that here to express their soul's gifts that they brought them from many lifetimes, right? Things that you just can't like explain, but you have like a real deep connection in knowing. And one of them, it's really just connecting and trusting your intuition, trusting yourself. Because you hold all the wisdom, which is actually funny. Hey, welcome. Let me know how you like these cards. And so you hold all the wisdom. Everything you've gone through up to this point has brought you to exactly where you are. And right now the guidance is okay. Wisdom is not just everything you can learn through a textbook, right? And through like former knowledge, but it's the things that you've brought in, you've learned through experience. So there's knowledge when you get it from the book. There's wisdom through experience that you've had personal at hand exposure to integrate in your body. You've seen how things actually work in the world, right? And so we're being guided to stand in your integrity, meaning like lean into the support that you have, both in the physical in terms of this being Gemini season, and also community, the right people, like aligning in the right environment. What is the future version of you? Who is that person hanging out with? What are they doing? Where are they going? So that they're in alignment, right? Have you thought about those things? And if not, like, take that time to clear it up. And you could see here, she's actually like drawing out to the stars, reaching out forward ahead. And she is actually standing on the foundation of the books, right? Wisdom before her. And she's climbed, opposite way, she's climbed to the top. And so it's like, okay, surround yourself with the right people for when you want to keep growing forward in that momentum, using the energy of the stars and what's coming forward, right? And the energy around us and staying in alignment. It's like you don't have to do it alone. Source out the wisdom from your teachers, your mentors, groups. Right now, a major like shift is being encouraged from us to really get into your circles if you haven't already, because they say, someone who when two or more together, you go further than just going faster on your own, right? Because that leads to faster burnout. And when I kind of tuned into that and was thinking about okay, in terms of what else does this moon want to say for us? Well, you have a choice. We all have this will. Here you can see, I would say she's a queen of her own standing, and all the beautiful cycles of her moon here around her. This is also the waxing moon, so leading to a build-up. Now, we all have a decision. We all get to make decisions in our lives, and that power lives within us, right? However, oftentimes, because we are human beings, the thing that usually happens is that when it comes to your goals and the bigger vision and going forward, especially with not just like starting strong, um, but like how can I continue to have that fire building so it'll continue to burn so I can keep going and growing. What really the big suggestion and like key from all this, like when you think about fruition being wisdom from everything that you've carried up to this point, and everything that you'll continue to receive, everything that you'll continue to be exposed to, is that when we think about fruition, right, it's all the fruit that you'll receive from your own experience and the wisdom, right? You have it all. So when it comes to trusting your intuition, lean on that. Like, how can I trust my intuition? Like, how have I connected in those moments to myself and my inner wisdom? Especially when, like, how can I return to that when the moments feel a little more clouded, when the energies and the emotions feel overwhelming, and it's like I need that anchor to return to my sense of self, right? The other thing too, it's like, okay, your will. The will is based off the knowledge you already have within you, right? And, using that wisdom within you, that knowledge within you, to take the aligned actions. And what I see usually, it's like, okay, well, remember your why, right? Remember what's lighting you up about the vision, even if you don't fully see the bigger picture, you don't see the why, you don't understand the why, but go with the feeling, right? The excitement. With generators, and usually with like following your intuition, it's kind of hard to really articulate that. I'm kind of going to say a made up word, but like logical, make it logic, right? Try to understand it through logic. And that's the thing, you can't. It has to be a felt experience for you to tap into passion, to tap into fire. And so that's where it's like, okay, where do I cultivate that excitement? Can I tap into the feeling? Can I build up those moments of how it would feel like with the end result? Like, what is it that I'm looking to gain it through experience? How would I feel? What would it seem like, right? Especially within me, and my experience and desires, right? And so, major other things that I wanted to bring up, it's like, what if you went all for it and you remained in your integrity? So with structure, with being focused, requires that you be committed. Even when, again, as way changers, you are here to implement and show a new way forward and onward when society would otherwise do things differently. So take the example of you going in a transition where most people typically would slack off and they would stop showing up to their fullest with 100% integrity. Say this too as an example. You have an exam, right? You have something that's due on a specific date about a month away right now. And that level of energy, the level of passion, the level of commitment to show up needs to be held, right? But what's going to drive you, right? And ideally, it's the wisdom, the vision, your philosophy, that's why the integrity, it's the morals and values you hold. That's Sagittarius for you when it comes to the moon. And also Gemini. Gemini is like, okay, it's like I get to know the gem and I, right? Through experience in society. And how can I, continue to stay in my integrity when otherwise other people or society around me would do things contrary, right? So one example I can give is where In particular for me, it was like, oh, I was getting news I was going through a transition recently. And I could slack off. I could, just relax, take it easy. However, that would impede on the goals that I have already, right? So that's a double-edged sword right there. Where some people would typically just slack off, probably not show up fully 100%. And these are just examples for you to kind of see where you are and see, all right, am I honoring myself? Am I honoring my vision? Am I honoring and showing up how I want to come through, right? With that passion. How would the highest version and vision of myself and the highest timeline of me, show up? How can I? And also, other things that I've seen come up in terms of themes is like, don't stay quiet. A couple reasons why we would stay quiet in terms of voicing our opinion perspectives is because, one, either there is going to be people or some sort of shadows coming up where whether within yourself that come within you or from projections from other people, and they'll go and say, well, who are you to shed light on this perspective when you don't come from that culture, right? For example, or say, show me the paper, show me the documents, show me the proof, right? Like, and people think just because of the color of your skin or your background that you're not worthy to speak on this. Well, remember, honey, right? That you're soul ordained here. So you are the reason why you're free to speak it and teach it is because it's your experience, right? If you feel excited about it, then freaking teach the thing, freaking say something. Two, we also, especially with the feminine wound, a lot of intuitives have this feminine wound where maybe they weren't nurtured when they were a child, and so it's like the feminine needs a little bit more attention, needs to be encouraged a little bit more because we didn't get that. So we have to nurture ourselves. That's where it's like bringing back the harmony between the feminine and masculine energies. And that's why I encourage, working with the moon cycles, because in every phase that the moon is in, where the moon visits each zodiac sign about every 2 to 3 days, lasting and going through all of them about 28-day cycle. You get to really work on all the different themes within you that you carry, all the codes, the cosmic codes that you carry within you. And so a couple of themes, and I'm going to like pump this up because I feel like I've been feeling into this vibe here and I wanted to share it. Maybe you've tuned into my stories, where it's like we have this feminine like warrior. What my mentor Anna, she calls it like the feminine sacred I'm trying to remember what archetype we work with. We have the sacred let's just say like warrior woman, right? She has this like really tough edge to herself, fire, angsty, right? Maybe a little bit of sacred rage here, emotions that will come up. And this song here I really love because it's like such a feminine empowerment to me. It's like the feminine who holds her masculine. She's coming in forward strong, still sexy, and claims the sexiness for herself. It's not like she's trying to portray it for somebody else. It's like, no, she's saying all this for herself. And so, in particular, this song's called Vendetta, which I really, really do like. So I wanted to throw it up. And so, like, energies, like anger can come up, right? Because of the inner, sacred rebel within you, the woman who's been kept shut, quiet, where you, again, like, who are you to say this with your opinion, your perspective, right? Well, like, you have something to say because you see things differently. If something's not working efficiently, well, say something, because, hey, my mentor says that women are here to show the way. So, like, to be the initiatress in the bedroom. And that's also in the way of life, right? Like, we have the feminine energy, the feminine perspective, sees things like, okay, if she gets frustrated, if she gets that sacred rage, think about Kali energy, it's because something needs to be shifted. And also anger, sacred anger, there's no reason to feel like afraid or ashamed to feel that, because this means there's some sort of passion. Something just doesn't feel right and something needs to be said. Because if no one says anything, then that's where injustice, that's where, how do you say, people that think that a behavior is okay, either things around judging based off of, skin, ethnicity, cultures, right? They're going to continue to have a small paradigm. And again, this can apply to anything. This can apply to structures in a workplace, structures in the home, like a new way needs to be done because things just aren't working efficiently, right? So feel free to say that and speak up, ideally in a way where you're not shouting out of a reaction, but you can collect yourself, right? Other things, it's like emotions, allowing yourself to feel the emotions and alchemize them. Because in it, there's the magic, there's the power. Like, if I need to suddenly release tears and grief, it's because, okay, let me move through this so that I can claim my power, step into that empowerment, and just go, you know what, like, I can take care of myself, right? I can take care of the steps forward. I can walk my path and not feel like I can't carry and hold my own, right? And so just giving that a moment, like things that will come up that are going to maybe within yourself or around you where your will be tested, right? But remember your why. Remember your sacred why. Remember your experience. Remember, like, just trust more into the feminine flow of, like, I'm seeing things in my environment. That's what usually happens, like, as a way with, like, generators. It's like you see things in your environment. It doesn't have to be directly to you. It could be something just, like, from secondhand experience or third-hand experience, and it lights you up. There's something that wants to get you moving, get the fires lit, right? Be either moving in the next direction, to take an action, inspired action, something to feel passionate about, and you want to respond to that. Like, the more you practice that, the more you say yes to yourself and, like, allow yourself to explore that, and then let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, let go of the attachment to judgment and stories around that. And as long as you act in integrity, right? And again, knowing that you're coming from a space of love, right? And you're not a bad person. Like, all the things co-inspire to work with you. Again, the universe responds to how you are going through your own initiations. And your initiations can be those things exactly, those moments where you're being asked to show up and speak up. Show up. And how can you take that next foot, the next step? How can you put on the clothes of the highest version of yourself and your highest timeline that you desire, and then show up in that itself, right? And something, for example, that just came up, and I know I've shared it, like, in the past 2 days, in my own space, is like where a certain structure changes were being made and shifted. And at first, typically with fixed signs like Aquarius and mine, and I believe Scorpio, right, are also fixed signs. And that's just a few of, however many, a bunch, just stating. It's like when you know you're that type of person where initial change comes through, you're like not really wanting to go with it. You're like, oh, why is this happening now? This is disrupting my system of flow. Well, I got really, really boiled up. And I started just like, I can't keep shut. I can't keep it a shut. I was like, this is inefficient. I was like, I started seeing like, why are people not thinking 10 steps ahead, or hello, like we learned this, like there should be already a system in place of things to think about, but then also there's so many things that you can't really write down in a book in terms of like of a manual and just like assume that's going to happen. Sometimes you do have to see it as you go, right? But I was just like, oh no, this is just not the way I would like things to be managed, not the way I would like the flow to go. So I'd rather go tap out and just take myself out and assess. But before I did that, I spoke my opinion. I spoke my, from my sacred womb, sacred inner rebel, you can say. The sacred rebel, because you're voicing something, your perspective, opinion, and more perspective from your wisdom and what you're seeing, because your eyes can just bring a different angle that maybe some people might not see, and it disrupts their structure, disrupts their thinking. And I feel like I just want to elaborate like one more thing on that. It's like, it's just the things that you can see around society and culture, where it's the way people, treat each other. And the best example I could say, and I want to just highlight, okay, people, hey, energy, I like healing. Some people in society, I feel like, and I've seen this theme come around when it comes to like just the way they treat each other, like rage and anger. It's where you can see maybe a fight is going on. Someone is speaking to somebody else in another way that's not like supportive. And thanks for being here. Like not supportive. And they're just putting each other down. Maybe they're just like blasphemizing each other, right? Saying things. And then you have people around them, like they're in a public space and they're not saying anything, right? No one says it's wrong. Or say you can see the example sometimes where some parents, like kids roam around and like without like real, awareness of letting them know, like, okay, be aware of your surroundings, etc. And people don't say anything. But if you were to voice yourself, like you were to say, that's not okay, that's not a good like way how to treat people, like in the example of people making each other feel bad, putting each other down, or, just voicing yourself, something that you're seeing, when you speak up can actually help to draw awareness to others' perspective, which is necessary, because if you didn't, then they would continue to run their program and think that it is okay. It's okay to treat people that way. It's okay to act that way, and it's not. And so I feel like that was just something to like highlight and like feel brave, like, because certain things have been run for a while in a particular way, especially in traditional society. At this point, it's like, okay, we need to bring that back to sacredness. We need to bring that back to, like alignment, right? And like the sacred disruptor, the sacred rebel is the one that will show, highlight, even through just one word, through action, a new wave, new perspective. And then like, even if they didn't take that action right now, like really took you to heart, you were planting the seed, right? And you're planting seeds all the time. And I think that's just like the important message that I wanted to put through, and just things to keep in mind, that your perspective shouldn't just be kept within yourself and then kept with you and it dies with you, right? Like, you have a way of looking at things that really could help benefit the world around you, the people around you, the people that you surround yourself with, your family, friends, circle. And also, likewise, perspective. Be open to different schools of thought. Doesn't mean you have to absorb it, but just, listen. See if it, and really take it in terms of like, okay, how does this apply to me? If it doesn't mean anything, okay, you can let it go, right? But just things that, to be open, I would say, definitely this season. Because you just never know what's going to come up. You don't know what blessings and doors are opening. And be open to it, right? Because ultimately, you always say that divine ordinance, God's hand, is what you would want to be leading you forward, right? You're in alignment with the highest and like supportive energies around you. And so I want to thank you for being here, for tuning in. Definitely hope that you guys enjoy the full moon weekend. And for those of you who want to connect to your intuition, to your soul's gifts, that you feel this call, of course, where you maybe have some wound around expressing yourself, expressing your truth. And maybe that's a repeated cycle in your life, or even in instances where you feel like you want to connect to your intuition, and that's a feminine aspect of, the feminine energy within you to be healed and integrated. And you're here with a purpose, a calling, you have a soul's gifts, but you don't really know how to tap into that, or you don't really know how to integrate that in your modern day life, right? Especially if you're within modern society. I have etherical, which starts in 18 days on the summer solstice. And this is the most fortuitous time because it is the longest day of the year, the highest, in the northern hemisphere, the most amount of sunlight that you'll be receiving, the codes. And I'm talking about, when we work in etherical, we will be not only doing, energy work, and you'll be doing that, for yourself. And I'll be teaching you ways in terms of the ancient priestesshood practices, sacred practices, coming back to yourself and the sacredness of you. We'll be healing through these shadows and archetypes that cause you to either feel like you can't tune into your gifts, feel like you have anxious moments in your life, highs and lows, your energy is not grounded. You feel like, as an empath or someone who's intuitive, good evening, that, let me know if this is something that you experience, where maybe you take in a lot of energy, and by the end of the day, you feel depleted, or you feel ungrounded, right? And, these are all examples in terms of working with and connecting to our intuition that we'll be working through etherical. And this is the premise of what I would say my soul's work with helping people really feel comfortable owning their magic and actually bringing that forward in this lifetime. And one of the major things that I've been seeing as I've been putting this together is we will be working through the different energy centers every single week. And that's from the root up to the crown, so that you can align your energy and expand your aura. And then as you work through these shadows and archetypes, we step in to, okay, whatever the various ways that I can conjure up, activate, invoke the magic and the codes within myself, right? And so that link is down below in my link in my bio. And you will see the early bird pricing before it rises up before we start on June 21st. If you have any questions, if you want to see if this program is for you, tune in, send me a message, let me know. Maybe we can exchange some voice notes. I love to do voice notes. I think it's more personal that way and a lot faster than just typing it out. And ways to connect with me. Well, right now, just subscribe over to my Divine Cosmic Journey website. I also have a link in my bio too for you. And tune in because I'll be releasing a couple of podcast episodes in the next coming weeks. And thanks for coming in. Positive attitude. And that way, just highlighting, okay, I have different people or special guests are going to come on the podcast episode, and they are going to be highlighting their own perspectives on life that we can gather through their own special, areas of expertise of where they come through. And thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that the reading, the energy message came through for you. And I hope you have a beautiful, blessed night. And thanks for being here with me. And as we... Thank you.